Thank you for watching our webinar, Mastering Year-End Planning with OnePlan. Presenting is OnePlan's Steve Tebagi. If you enjoy this topic, please explore our YouTube channel for more recorded presentations and follow us on LinkedIn to stay in the know.
Welcome everyone. I hope you're all having a great start to summer and are enjoying the warm weather with family and friends. As many of you return to the office, you'll be faced with not only executing and finishing projects for 2025, but also planning ahead for strategies, initiatives, and projects for the year ahead. Let's review today's agenda. First, we'll talk about the importance of year-end planning. Next, we'll review common challenges individuals and organizations face during their planning efforts. We'll talk about the role of strategic portfolio management for aligning strategy with execution. And then we'll cover a four-step approach to year-end planning with a live demonstration. Please be sure to stay until the end as we'll have a special offer for all webinar participants. Let's start with the importance of year-end project planning. IT leaders, business leaders alike are constantly balancing a flux of threats and future opportunities that present risks and disruption and really require a well-executed plan for addressing those in the current year and the year to come. Responding to these threats and opportunities requires a portfolio of projects and programs to execute on those effectively. It also requires orchestration and governance at scale, ensuring the alignment between portfolios, programs, and projects. Strategic business functions, such as the execution of large enterprise-wide initiatives and effective portfolio prioritization, all depend on proper planning. And most importantly, with proper alignment, a core focus on achieving business objectives and outcomes, and considering the key factors of financial and resource constraints, organizations can significantly improve the enterprise's ability to execute on strategy. Regardless of the time of year, there are some common challenges that most businesses face with portfolio planning. I won't go through all of these here on this slide, but for many organizations, there's poor alignment and collaboration between different functional areas, cross-functional teams. There's manual mashups and manual report creation. Spreadsheet overload is something that we see quite a bit with a lot of our clients. Duplication of efforts and data entry is very time-consuming, wasteful, and prone to errors. The inability to track progress. As we mentioned, many organizations are still using spreadsheets to track objectives, and this limits their ability to have real-time visibility and management of attainment against strategic goals. And then many organizations don't have measurements or leading indicators. Finally, most organizations struggle with strategy execution. In fact, numerous studies from top consulting firms, including McKinsey, Bain, Boston Consulting Group, and Harvard Business Review, have shown nearly 70% of strategies fail due to poor execution. Furthermore, organizations only realize about 60% of their strategic value. In simple terms, strategic planning sets the focus and direction for an organization. Project management is all about the execution and management of that strategy, and portfolio management is the glue or the bridge between strategy and execution. Industry analyst Gartner provides insight into the need for strategy execution, noting that strategy execution involves a set of people, strategy, and operations as a set of processes. Also as a system of strategy development and planning, organizational alignment, monitoring, testing, adapting, form the basis for an increase in value by executing the strategy. Gartner further defines strategic portfolio management as a set of a set of capabilities, processes, and supporting portfolio management technology to support different leaders. So leadership requires strategic portfolio management to support enterprise-wide strategy to execution, alignment, and adaptation. defining of key business strategies and desired business outcomes, and mapping key portfolio elements such as business capabilities, investments, programs, digital and physical products, applications, and of course, projects. Capturing, defining, and prioritizing those business strategies, and then managing the execution of the initiatives and the projects that drive the achievement of these strategies, ultimately providing full visibility and management of core functional assets. And really supporting three key stakeholders, from leadership, who set the direction, IT or functional management, who own the critical assets and infrastructure and applications, and the execution teams that plan and deliver projects and products in the pursuit of reaching business goals. There are a number of reasons why strategic portfolio management is important in today's business environment. We've already talked a little bit about the fact that there's increasing complexity in business environments, whether that is new opportunities, new risks, and the need for the organization to optimize their portfolios to ensure that they're aligned constantly, not just on an annual basis, but ongoing with strategic goals. There's a greater need for financial and resource optimization as organizations of all size have limited resources and budgetary constraints, and need to focus on allocating resources most effectively and reallocating resources to maximize their return on investment. With the increasing availability of data and analytics tools, there's a growing demand for data-driven decision-making and the need for insight into portfolio performance. Adoption of agile and other project management methodologies also present a greater need for effective portfolio management, ensuring that your project portfolios, regardless of how they're delivered, waterfall, agile, hybrid, or other, align with your strategic goals. And also emerging technologies and business models. Certainly we'll talk a little bit today about AI. It's pervasive, and the emergence of these new technologies or business opportunities or models can create new opportunities and also challenges for organizations. And really important for organizations to be able to evaluate and prioritize these opportunities to ensure that they're aligned with the overall business strategy. Which brings us to OnePlan for strategic portfolio management. First, business leaders can set objective and key results, or OKRs, and value streams, some of which I'll show in a few moments here in the demonstration. Next, execution leaders, such as PMOs and project managers, can execute against those OKRs, whether via agile, waterfall, hybrid. The list of work execution methodologies goes on. And functional leaders, who need to track and align IT assets, whether it's enterprise architecture elements, application portfolios, or product portfolios. Now that we understand the importance of year-end planning and the value that strategic portfolio management can provide, let's talk about putting those elements into action with a four-step approach to year-end planning. First, we're going to talk about setting your objectives and metrics, and we'll go through a demonstration of how we can set these OKRs that we aim to achieve within a given time frame. Next, we'll talk about collecting project ideas and requests. What are the focused initiatives, programs, or projects that allow an organization to execute a strategic plan? And what are the challenges that maybe those ideas can align to and support in that objective? Third, we'll talk about capacity planning and budgeting, the need for rough top-down resource planning and financial budgeting. And then last but not least, portfolio modeling and optimization, getting the right mix of projects that enable an organization to achieve objectives in the coming year. Let's start with step one, setting your objectives and metrics. So here we are, we're inside OnePlan, and I'll call to your attention the left side navigation. These are the different areas within the product Now, for the purposes of today's demo, I'm signed in as a user that has access to all of these areas, and I can highlight and hover over these to see what they are. We've also added this little arrow button down here to expand the view so I can see all the different areas within the product. Now, if you were to adopt OnePlan, we would work with you where you could configure role-based permissions and access so that people only see what they need to see. So for example, team members, they may only see the home page, the My Work, and maybe if you're doing timesheets. And you'll see here we just default to the enterprise portfolio list, which we're not going to spend too much time on today, but this is the command center within OnePlan where you can see at a high level and then drill through from portfolios to programs to projects, all of the work going on in your organization. I'm going to jump now to the strategy area or the bullseye. And here we have a list of organizational objectives. Now, if you need some ideas for 2026 objectives, OnePlan can help you create a list of strategic objectives, for example, for a software development company. So the bottom right-hand corner here, you'll see this blue circle. This is Sophia. Sophia is our integrated AI chatbot. And I could come in here and say, let's create a list of 2026 strategic objectives for a software development company. And in just a few seconds here, Sophia will come back with some recommended organizational objectives that a software development company could use. And then we can add these as well into our list of organizational objectives. You'll see here if I click on the new item dropdown, I can easily add a new objective. Let's go ahead and look, in this case though, in the interest of time, at an existing objective. So here we have one called Improve Customer Satisfaction. I'll go ahead and click on that one, and it'll bring me into my details page. So OnePlan allows you to have configurable pages that allow you to track metadata, information, details, and others about all different types of plans. And almost everything in OnePlan is a plan, whether it's a project or an epic or an idea or an OKR. So here you see a number of fields. We can have some high-level information, who's the manager, maybe Ehrlich is the manager here for this objective. Do I have it belong to a particular business unit? Is there a description of the objective? Now, here's also where we can start to use AI capabilities. You see the little AI chatbot head here for Sophia. We can go ahead and generate a description for this plan. So objective is to improve customer satisfaction for our software development company. And hit generate. I even have a microphone there where I could just dictate the type of objective that I have. And in just a few seconds, Sophia AI comes back with a draft description of the objective, and then actually aligning with such standards such as the project management PMI, body of knowledge, PMBOK standards, in terms of how to go about developing and achieving such a goal. So let's go ahead and accept that, and that's going to put it right here into the description field for me, and I can always go in and change anything here. Always want to verify. If we scroll down, we can see we can have a schedule. Maybe you have an annual year or a fiscal year associated with this objective. We can have certain financials, which can roll up from sub-plans, whether they're key results or others, such as budget, benefits, ROI. We can do prioritization. There's a whole prioritization capability within OnePlan. I will show you our portfolio modeler today, which allows you to do prioritization of any type of plan information, including objectives or key results. And then here you'll see the associated key results. So part of what OnePlan also allows you to do is to associate different plan types. And so in this case here, I have a key result of increasing customer satisfaction scored by 10% and increasing the company average deal size by 25%. Do we have a need for additional key results? We can always come back in here and go to Sophia and say, help me create a list of key results for this objective. And just like before, Sophia leveraging AI, this is all done securely in the Microsoft Cloud through Azure OpenAI. You can see it bring back a number of recommended key results and suggested metrics. So you can really use this to supplement your objective and key result development process. All right, now let's go into one of these key results here. This increase the company average deal size by 25. And that's just going to bring us to the details for that key result. You'll see similar look and feel throughout the product, and we have the ability to track all different types of information. You'll see some different fields here. So in this case, we're looking at the metrics. And we support in OnePlan numerical metrics, financial, and percentage. And you can easily set a target metric, maybe a current number associated with that, and then you'll see the metric trend line over time. How are we doing against our progression toward those key results? Now, what we can also do is we can use Sophia here again, and we could say to her, let's go ahead and clear this, and say, create a list of 2026 projects to support this key result. And again, just give her a few seconds here. If you're looking and you're doing brainstorming potentially after strategic planning on an annual basis, this can come back here and give you some ideas on specific projects or programs. As you can see, the strategy area in OnePlan is simple but powerful. And there are all different types of dashboards and reports in here, ways to visualize and see your progress against the specific objectives and key results. Of course, I don't have the report pack installed here in this environment, so I'll come back to reporting later. Now that we've set our objectives and our metrics, step 2 is about collecting project ideas and requests. This is a focused list of initiatives, programs, projects that an organization might invest in order to execute the business strategy and meet objectives and key results. Let's see that in action. So now I'm going to go to the innovation area. We call this the innovation portal inside of OnePlan, or the ideas area. You can call it either. And here is a list of various ideas that have been submitted. OnePlan provides this ideation and innovation portal capability to anyone in your organization, and they don't actually require a OnePlan user subscription. Instead, we have a flat fee annual subscription for our innovation portal that allows you to have unlimited number of requesters throughout your organization. And if they come in, they would just simply see the innovations area. So we have the ability to submit a form, a new idea. So we have a configurable form. You'll see here as an organization, you can also issue challenges so that people can submit ideas against various challenges. So maybe a challenge that we have here is a lengthy onboarding process. And our new idea is, let's say, a OnePlan fiscal year planning jumpstart. And again, Sophia is here, as you see throughout the product, where you can have Sophia help create the description for this idea. Many clients that we work with tell us that, especially in IT, there tends to be a lot of requests and demand for work that's just kind of thrown over the fence, if you will, whether it's via email or a phone call or what have you. This could be a way to get people to be a little bit more rigorous in terms of defining what their ideas are and how they can support those challenges or achieve those challenges. Let's just go ahead and hit Add Plan. So here we have the OnePlan fiscal year planning jumpstart item that's been added to the bottom. You'll see it's in a proposed state. And now there's a configurable intake form. I can expand this to get a little bit more real estate. And here you'll see across the top we have a traditional process flow. This is configurable. You hear me use that term quite a bit. We really try to emphasize configuration versus customization, meaning having to write custom code. And in this case, we have a process that goes from draft to submitted to under review to approved, implemented, or rejected. And there's configurable workflow elements there as well. We have native workflow elements in OnePlan that allow such things as routing for approvals and notifications. And we also support advanced workflow capabilities through integration with Microsoft Power Automate. So here we are inside now the form for this idea. Again, we can give it a description. So the description could be a special offer for attendees of today's fiscal year planning webinar. And I can even ask people to create a value statement. Again, we can use AI to help generate that. Maybe some additional comments. We can put in who the executive sponsor is. So let's say Ehrlich is the executive sponsor on this one. Is there a particular business unit that this belongs to? We'll call it IT. All different types of configurable fields and forms. In fact, depending upon where you are in the process flow across the top, that can define what sections of the form become exposed below. And again, I can scroll down here and I can start to see other parts of this form. You'll see such things as financials. Maybe we have an initial budget or a target benefits for the idea. We'll also start now to see prioritization, and this is going to feed into our prioritization efforts later on down the line. So we support both a standard prioritization, which you'll see here. I can choose such things as how well it supports strategic alignment, or supporting employee retention, or lowering cost. And as I do that, it'll create a weighted prioritization score. We also support concepts such as agile or lean prioritization for those of you that may be familiar with concepts such as weighted shortest job first. And again, this is all configurable, and we can put in here Fibonacci numbers for things such as risk or time criticality or the cost of deploying. Once we're done, we can go ahead and submit that. We can also vote. People can vote on other people's plans. So you'll see here the 5-star method. So maybe someone else is looking at a list of challenges and ideas that other people have submitted. Someone thinks this is a good idea, and we'll go ahead and we'll give that a 5-star rating. And we'll start to see the breakdown as a PMO or a leadership team in terms of the ranking by others of our various ideas. We can also, once we have evaluated some of these ideas, we can go ahead and click on the hamburger on the left-hand side here, which is the technical term. And I'm going to choose something called reorganize. Reorganize is a process by which we define that we have a good idea. We've done some initial vetting as part of our intake process. And we want to go ahead and convert that, reorganize that into another plan type, in this case, a project. So let's go ahead and hit project and hit reorganize and hit yes. And I have to specify a parent plan or a program that this belongs to in this case. So let's put this underneath the digital transformation program and hit reorganize. Yes. And now that has moved over into our list of projects, which will then get into resource and financial planning next. As you can see, OnePlan can provide a single front-end experience for anyone in your organization to submit ideas, requests, or proposals. Okay, now that we've set our metrics and objectives and collected project ideas and requests, step 3 is about capacity planning and budgeting. And we're going to take you through that next, how we can do rough initial top-down resource planning and/or financial budgeting. Let's go ahead and see that in action. So I'm going to go now to our home page. Everyone has access to the home page. And here it would be, you'd be able to see some insights. If I have some insights, that are specific to my role. This is a new demo environment that I provisioned, so I don't have a lot of existing data here. We can also see various plans, recent plans that I've accessed, plans that I own, other plans that might be shared with me, those types of things here. And we can always use the search box to come in here and search for our plan. So let's go ahead and search for that OnePlan Fiscal Year Planning Jumpstart project. I'll go ahead and click on that, which will bring me to the last page that I was on in that project plan. Or you'll see there's a number of pages I can jump to directly to the details, the financials, the resource plan, etc. So let's go ahead and click on that plan. Now it's going to bring us to our details page, and this should look familiar because this is the information that was captured during that ideation, that intake process. So everything that's entered in as part of your intake process in the form lives and breathes with the plan type as it evolves through your workflow. Now you'll see another process flow across the top. Again, this is configurable. You'll see such things as maybe a common PMBOK, PMI type process flow of initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, closure, and I can click on these and I can advance these along the way into the next stage very easily. And I can have additional sections below that show up, and I can have workflow approvals and notifications. So what I'd like to do now is to build a resource plan. So I'm going to go up here to the top. You see we're in the Details tab. I'm going to click on the Resource Plan tab. And this is going to bring us to the resource plan for our OnePlan Fiscal Year Planning Jumpstart project. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some resources. I'm going to click here, Add Booking, and I can quickly come in here and I can choose some existing resources. So let's search for Bertram, and let's search for Daniel. I thought I had Daniel in here. We'll go with Ehrlich and Angela, and that'll be good. And then what we'll say here is that we want to book them, and this is a top-down resource planning. We don't have an approved project. We don't have a schedule yet. We just want to say roughly, do we think we're going to have, who we think we're going to need on this plan if it goes forward. And we allow you to do such things here as booking it for certain dates. So here we are, we'll do June until say September of 2025. And I can put in a rough number of hours per month. I can enter a percent allocation or even total allocation in hours and have that stripe across all of those months. I'll put in allocation a percentage. So let's say we're going to need these folks 25% of the time and click Add. And now what we're seeing here on the right-hand side is the time-phased allocation of those resources. And I can start to see immediately if I have some folks that are over-allocated. The resource plan is configurable like anything in OnePlan. You'll see that there's some fields and columns that are exposed here. So I can see the resource names. I can see what business unit they belong to and their role. And then here, what we're seeing is we entered in percent. Right now I'm looking at hours. I can click on that drop down and I can convert between percent, FTE, and hours, and it'll do so for me on the fly. So as I go ahead and select percent, now you'll see that I allocated everyone to 25%, but based upon their calendars, that might be a different number of hours, and that explains some of the differentiation. Also, number of hours can vary by month. Now I'm starting to see some resources in here that may be over allocated. And in another session or in another demonstration, we can provide you with more information on how OnePlan can be used to do rigorous resource capacity planning. And I'm doing all of this right now in a view called Committed. That is the top-down initial estimate of what we think we're going to need for this plan. Once we start building a work breakdown structure, which isn't part of today's demonstration, that'll show up here under the schedule. And by the way, that can come from a Microsoft project plan or come from a smart sheet or come from Azure DevOps. It doesn't matter where the work's being planned. It can also be planned natively using the OnePlan work plan feature. Also, we do support actuals, so you can collect timesheet data for those of you that want to use time cards. And then we have the ability to not only compare assignments versus capacity and show them in the form of the heat map, but I can also come in here, and if I have such data, I can compare committed to scheduled or plan versus actual with timesheets. Okay, now that we have a high-level resource plan, let's go to the financial plan. So I'm going to click here on financials. And this is going to bring me to the financial plan for this project. Just like we had different resource plan types, committed, scheduled, and timesheet, I have different cost types here in our financial plan, such as budget, forecast cost, actual cost. We can even track such things as benefits. And you'll see here it's pre-populated with a set of cost categories. Again, this is all configurable. And you'll see such things as labor costs. That's grouped into roles. So in a moment, I'll show you how we can import a resource plan that we've created into the cost categories here. So you don't need to manually track the costs. Behind the scenes, we have a resource pool. It can be all synced with your Microsoft Entra ID, formerly Azure Active Directory, and you can have rates associated with your resources. And maybe you use actual rates, maybe you use blended rates. We can also see such things as materials and supplies, travel and expenses, contract, software, other. And there's other configurable fields here. We can support different expense types. We can support text field with a description, no travel this year, maybe. And then if I go over to my, I want to go ahead and I want to import from my resource plan. And I think I'll have to come back to that. So what we can do here in the budget field, actually the budget view is where you want, I put in some high level budget. So we think we're going to need maybe in, let's say June 2025, $10,000 for software. That came in as $100,000, so $10,000. And this is like an online spreadsheet here. So you can go ahead and enter those in. We can then also start to see such things as forecasted costs, and these could be coming in from your scheduled work. So as you start to have scheduled work, you would be able to do such things as see that scheduled cost, and then ultimately, if you're doing time tracking, you can get into actual costs. All right. Now that we've set some top-down resource allocation and financial plans in the form of budgets, let's move on to step 4. Okay, finally, we've set our objectives and metrics. We've collected project ideas and requests. We performed some top-down capacity planning and budgeting. Step 4 is all about portfolio modeling and optimization. And let's see that in action. So I'm back here in OnePlan, and I'm going to go to this area here called the modeler. Now the modeler allows you to have different folders. So you can have folders for different departments or different individuals. What's nice is everything that we're going to show you here in the portfolio modeler, which really supports your annual planning and budgeting activities for fiscal year planning. This is all done using what-if scenario planning. We're not changing anything here. We're doing, what if we have, this is our portfolio of potential projects, and we can look at projects, we can look at epics, we can look at existing plans, we can look at ideas. You choose. There's a wizard here. If I go through and add a model, I can give it a name, a description. I can choose a folder, maybe the enterprise portfolio folder. And then I can go through a wizard here where we can give it a name. I have to go through and give it a name here. So let's do test. And then we go to the plans, and then you can choose what slice of your plan information you want to analyze in this model. Then you choose the fields, and then you determine how you want to view resources and costs. I'm going to close this and do the baking show variation where we already have one in the oven. And that's our 2026 project planning model. So let's go ahead and click on that. And here we have all of our 2026 projects. This is actually a look at all projects and epics. and I have a number of different columns that come out of the box. I can also choose any number of different columns here. So maybe I want to look at, let's say, our plan type, and I'll take this and just drag that over here very easily, click OK, and now I can see what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at epics and I'm looking at projects. Now remember, during ideation, during that step 2, we talked about the ability to start to look at building a prioritization score. Well, that's all showing up here on the right-hand side, and now this is an initial sort. This is showing top to bottom, out of all the projects that are in this model, which ones have the highest prioritization score. Ultimately, however, there's going to be horse trading, there's going to be executive decisions, there's going to be pet projects, and some things will be prioritized over other projects. So let's go down here and take a look here. Maybe this customer experience redesign project is really more important than market research, and I'm going to drag that all the way up here, and you'll see you're able to reorder the priority list. Maybe we know off the top that we can't do all of these projects, and you know what, this inventory management plan, we're not going to be able to do, so I'm going to deselect that. And all I'm doing is I'm moving things in and out. I can collapse this view and I can see what have been moved out and what has been included here. Next, we can start to do some constraint analysis. The first thing many organizations want to look at is, do we have the financial resources to deliver on all of this work in this model for, say, the next fiscal year? And I'm going to click here on our financial plan button. If we had built out a detailed financial plan for that OnePlan Jumpstart sample project earlier, you would have seen here a number of items that we covered and talked about. What we're seeing now is line items. Every row here is an individual plan in the model above, and what the total cost would be in terms of either budget or benefits. Right now I'm looking at budget. And I can come in here and I can set target budget. So maybe I have by monthly view, I have, say, 25,000 in January, but I only have 60,000 in February, and then the list goes on here in March, and I can really make this, whatever I want based upon the ebbs and flows of your budgeting. You can also just add at a fiscal year level. I can look at this by year, and then it'll peanut butter spread it across the months, and then you can always change that. So what is this telling us? It's telling us that we can't deliver all of these projects in the above model for this period of time, because here you'll see, for example, that we're going to be over our target budget by $22,700 in February of 2025. So I need to start making some decisions about plans. Maybe we need to move some of these plans out or not do them at all. I see this energy efficiency plan is right about 22,000. I can go ahead here and I can go ahead and I can find that plan up above, this energy efficiency plan. And let me just show you the red, green, yellow effect here on the target line. If I go ahead and deselect that energy efficiency plan, now we're going to start to see some things start to change from red to now yellow as we're slightly over budget to green. All right, so what we're doing here is we're moving things in and out. Again, I can collapse my view up above. Let's go ahead and hide the financial plans. I can collapse my view at any time and I can see what's in and out. By the way, you can also save scenarios. So here we can come in and say, this is going to be a $4 million scenario, and what plans are in the model for that scenario. Then we start to move other things out. Maybe we only have $3.5 million as our total budget, and then you can compare the scenarios. Now, for many organizations, it's not just, do we have the financial resources? It may also be, do we have the human resources? So I'm going to go now, I'm going to click on the resource plan button. And so you'll recall we built that quick resource plan, that top-down resource plan for that OnePlan fiscal year planning jumpstart plan. This is going to show us all of the resources that are required to deliver on all of the projects in the model above. And I can start to scroll down and I can see these various resources. and I can start to see some individuals that might be over allocated. Kevin Malone here in IT, he's a tester. He's good January through June, but then starting in July, he's over allocated. Let's take a look at what's doing that. I click the drop down next to his name. He's on 3 plans, but you'll see here he's fully allocated to the product launch and the distribution optimization plan at the same time. He's going to be a constrained resource. We can use our resource planning function to do some searching and replacing, but here I know that he's the only person that can work on these plans, so we're not going to be able to do this distribution optimization plan. So I click on it, it highlights the plan above, and let's go ahead and move that out. Again, it'll render updates below, and you'll start to see some things move from red to yellow to green. Keep in mind, as I said at the outset here, we're not changing anything. This is all what-if scenario planning. That also provides the ability for multiple individuals in your organization to do multiple models at the same time, because we don't have the conflict of them changing and moving underlying plans. All right, we've talked about financial constraints. We've talked about human resource constraints. Maybe it's not a question of if we do a plan, but when. So one thing I can do up here is I can layer in our Gantt chart, and that's going to show me where all of these plans fall on a timeline. I like to see it by quarters. I like to zoom out a little bit here. So here we're looking at the current year, current fiscal year, maybe 2025, and we have a number of these plans that are in flight. And you know what? Maybe the social media strategy, we're not going to be able to do this right now. What if I take that and drag that into 2026? What will that do for me? And again, it'll render updates below. So you're seeing very powerful capabilities. I'm going super fast here in the interest of time, but very powerful capabilities to do what if scenario planning, both in and out or moving things on the timeline. And I can always change my time scale or what have you. Finally, we do have a number of great reports and visualizations here in the tool. We have bubble charts, which everyone always likes, especially executives. I don't have this one covered at the moment, so I don't have that one to show you here, but we do have the ability to do pivot charts. So there's pivoting capabilities natively built into the tool here. Maybe you want to pivot on benefits, budget, and forecasted costs, for example. We do have something called the visualizer. The visualizer provides some interesting views. The first is dependencies. Here are all the plans in my selected model. And you know what? In order to do this data warehouse migration plan, we also have to go do this unselected predecessor plan, improve IT infrastructure. So maybe I need to go back and add that into my model. We also have something called the runway. And I don't have this set up properly here. I apologize. I'm supposed to add additional columns to this view. I don't want to do that on the fly here. I might be able to pull up another demo environment real quick that has that. But what you would see here is not only your plans, but your objectives and your key results, those OKRs. Let me see real quickly here if I have another environment that I can spin up very quickly to show you that, because I think it's a powerful view. Let's just go ahead and grab this environment. Please bear with me, appreciate your patience. Let's go to the modeler. Let's go to this IT 2025 project planning model. I know it has good demo data. And let's go to the visualizer here. I'm going to expand my view so I have full screen real estate and hit the runway. And here we are. In this model, these are projects and epics. These are all the ones that have been selected in our current model for the next fiscal year. And I can see through the web here how they're supporting our objectives and those key results that we set up at the very beginning of today's session. I can also tie them and see how they associate with our products. If you're a product management organization or a IT organization, maybe you have various applications. You want to see, how do these plans support our ERP application? And what you'll start to see is some of these orphan plans that aren't supporting any objectives or any key results, and maybe get the question of why we're doing it. So lots of power in there, lots of great different ways to visualize. I did promise a bubble chart. So let me go ahead and I'm pretty sure I don't have the bubble chart here. Sincere apologies. Let me just jump real quickly to this other demo group. I'm pretty sure I have the bubble chart. Let's just go to the modeler here real quick. Let's go to the IT 2025 model. Let's go to our bubble chart. Here we are. All right, thanks for your patience. So here we have, and you can choose any field that you want for the X and Y axis. So in this case, I'm looking at benefits on the X axis and then comparing it to prioritization score on the Y axis. And then I'm sizing the bubbles based on the total cost or the budget. So very interesting way to look at your portfolio of plans. All right, as you can see, OnePlan provides powerful portfolio optimization and modeling capabilities. AI is certainly a hot topic, and we really just scratched the surface with what you can do with OnePlan's AI assistant called Sophia GPT. With respect to strategic planning, Sophia can help to increase productivity, improve alignment, help with data-driven decision-making, and certainly optimization. When it comes to optimization, Sophia can help with data analysis, prediction and forecasting, assessment of risks, and portfolio optimization. All right, let's go ahead and summarize here what we've covered. So better alignment with strategy and execution is needed for successful outcomes in the current year and the next year ahead. We talked about increasing complexity and the fast pace of change, requiring enhanced methods, approaches, and tools. Strategic portfolio management can help provide the framework for successful year-end planning. OnePlan provides strategic portfolio management end-to-end in the Microsoft Cloud, and the use of AI provides valuable assistance and insights to our SPM efforts, and Sophia provides AI-enabled capabilities. Have you already built your plan for the next year? You can use OnePlan Strategic Portfolio Management to monitor, modify, and align projects with strategic goals throughout the entire year. Okay, for those of you that have stayed here to the end, I did mention a special offer for webinar attendees. We're offering a jumpstart offer here where you can get your FY26 planning solution in just 3 weeks. We have a predefined package which includes 10 of our enterprise licenses. That is for individuals to do the portfolio planning, do the initial OKR development, do the resource and financial planning, those types of things. We'll give you unlimited innovation portal users. This is the ideation function that would be open to anybody in your organization. We're going to include up to 100 hours of our OnePlan Advantage services. This is time and materials services available for configuration and post-deployment support. We'll include 2 days of instructor-led training so we can get you ramped up very quickly on how to use OnePlan for fiscal year planning, for ideation, development, creating your intake forms, what have you. And then all of our offer includes Premier Success, which gives you access to non-production licenses, of course, and access to our e-learning. If you're not quite ready to take advantage of our 2026 planning jumpstart, please be sure to check out other ongoing offers and resources. We do offer a free personalized one-on-one demo. If you'd like to take anything that you saw here today back to your team, back to your colleagues or leadership, we're happy to do that. We do offer a free OnePlan trial. It's a free trial of the solution. There's no cost or commitment to do so. For more information, you can reach out to us, contact@oneplan.ai, or our website, www.oneplan.ai. Simply visit oneplan.ai/solutions, and you can choose the solution template that best meets your interests and needs. I recommend the Strategic Portfolio Management or the Platform template so you can test drive all the capabilities that we covered today. With that, thank you for your time and attention. I hope this session has provided you with some food for thought as you consider opportunities to improve your annual planning. Best wishes from all of us at OnePlan for a strong close to 2025 and successful planning ahead for 2026. Thank you.